Hello, you're watching ITU Telecom TV. I'm Martin Warwick, and I'm talking with an old friend, Alan Horne, who is the General Director of the Telecommunications Regulatory Authority. He's the regulator of Bahrain, the Kingdom of Bahrain. Alan, welcome. Speaking at the beginning, what are the most pressing issues you have as a regulator in the Kingdom of Bahrain?
It's very interesting that Bahrain is relatively new to liberalisation. And as in Europe and the States, some of the issues that Bahrain is facing today are those issues which Europe faced many years ago. The most pressing issue that any regulator faces is working with the incumbent operator and to ensure that the incumbent operator properly fulfills its obligations to the new entrants, making available the infrastructure on fair and reasonable terms. That has been and always will be the major issue any regulator faces. The incumbent operator makes the regulator's life difficult or very difficult, one or the other. Secondly, the whole issue and concerns on the population generally about masts and towers which have proliferated with the rollout of mobile and wireless services. Always a great concern, and the regulator has to spend a lot of time to lower the fears and bring up the recommendations of the World Health Organization that there is no harm, no proven harm from radio signals from masts, as long as they meet a particular standard. And it's those standards that we set, and it's those standards that we measure and ensure that the levels of radiation are below those standards.
But Telco is the incumbent operator in Bahrain. It's been there for a long time. It's quite powerful. What's the reality of the competitive landscape like, and what's your relationship like with the incumbent?
Well, since the liberalisation in 2003, Telco has done a very, very good job in helping to expand the marketplace. The market has doubled in terms of revenues since 2003, and Telco has taken the largest share of that. But the new entrants have also taken a significant share, particularly in the mobile sector, but less so in the broadband and less so in the postpaid international calling cards. The calling cards to Asia Pac Telco's lost a substantial part of the market. So we now have a very competitive field in mobile communications with a third entrant about to start, STC, at the end of this year, a competitive international calling card market. But as far as fixed lines, as far as broadband, then Telco still has the majority share of that market. So those are the areas that we have to address. Local loop unbundling, number portability are two regulatory tools which we're about to introduce to help increase the competitive landscape. But I have to say that Telco has done very well at improving its customer care, its customer support, and it has to be praised to them, as well as expanding on the international stage, entering other markets, and bringing economies of scale to what is a relatively small market.
And what about your relationship with the powers that be within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? How independent are you? And what's your relationship like with the great neighbour you have next door, huge neighbour you have next door, Saudi Arabia?
Well, it's because of the policies of His Highness the King, the Crown Prince, the Prime Minister, that we are in Bahrain the most liberal telecommunications market in the whole of the Arab world. And literally anyone can come and apply and obtain a license to offer telecommunications service. And the kingdom and, as you say, the powers that be see that telecommunications is an enabling industry to support the growth of other industries. So we're extremely lucky. We have a very, very strong law written by an American law firm in 2003, which gives us a tremendous base and gives us the power to help implement those policies of the kingdom. In terms of relationship with Saudi Arabia, Saudi Telecom, we're very pleased, won the third tender for the third mobile operator. They're a substantial company. They're operating in more than 10 companies. They're being innovative, and we see them offering significantly new innovative services, competing with Telco and Zain in Bahrain. And I think we will benefit tremendously from their expertise when they enter the market at the end of the year.
There's a lot of talk in the press always about PanArabism. Now, you are a Brit working among your colleagues and other regulators in the area who are Arab, from the Maghreb all the way across to Yemen and all the rest of it. Are you the odd man out? What's the relationship with them like?
I am the odd man out, and again, credit very much to the Bahrain establishment for appointing myself, and indeed appointing somebody on merit as opposed to what nationality they are. I've enjoyed the role. I'm in a very privileged position, enjoying it tremendously. And 2 years ago, I had a particular privilege of actually chairing the Arab Regulators network consisting of 22 countries. And in that period, I had tremendous welcome from all my colleagues across the whole region, and we achieved a lot in that time for the benefit, I believe, of the whole Arab region.
Many Arab operators are expanding outside of their home countries into other parts of Arabia. Does Bahrain have similar ambitions?
I think Bahrain and Telco is the major party which is expanding outside of Bahrain into Africa, into India, into the Yemen and Saudi. But similarly, Jordan Telecom is expanding and has presence in Bahrain. Saudi Telecom is expanding. So each of the incumbent operators within the Arab world are expanding into neighboring countries. And I think it's fascinating, as we always see, the incumbent in one country is fighting the regulator and then is praising the regulator in another country where the regulator is their best friend because they've opened the market and give them new opportunities. And it's fascinating to see the different play between the incumbents at this present time.
So do you find yourself then in a slightly schizophrenic position? And by that I mean, do you find yourself loved in some places where you're seen as a liberator regulatorily, and other places not being in the same mould at all?
No, I think that the regulators are not competing across the whole of the Arab region. The Arab Regulators network is a loose network, but nevertheless we share experiences, and we here at the show we're meeting many regulators and sharing those experiences and learning from one another's experiences. So as regulators across the region, I think we respect one another and are learning from one another. Within Bahrain, yes, naturally, as they say, we are loved by some and hated by others.
You talked about broadband briefly. What about internet access in Bahrain? And are you concerned with cybersecurity? There's a lot of emphasis here at the show on cybersecurity, and particularly on the protection of children from some internet content and access. You doing the same sort of thing?
Very much so. And we recognise the Kingdom has established an economic 2030 vision. And it's recognised that to achieve this vision of economic growth, that broadband, ubiquitous, competitive broadband communication is required throughout the whole kingdom. And as the regulator, we're developing now the national ICT policy, and we're developing our work plan. But we see if we succeed, as we will, putting high-speed broadband into every home, either by fixed and to every terminal, by wireless technology, if we succeed in doing that, then we have to make sure the tools are in place to protect consumers. Education is in place to empower consumers to know how to use this very important tool. So we're very lucky. We've recently employed the ex-head of security of British Telecom internet security, and he's bringing a tremendous amount of expertise from British Telecom, from Europe, into Bahrain, which we hope to also extend across the whole of the region, on how to protect the child, how to protect people, how to put the tools in place, how to give people choice, but know how to use the internet for its positive reasons as opposed to its negative.
Alan Hall, always a pleasure. Good to see you again. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Martin.